Thank you. You can do what I just did, right? Okay. So we're starting here. We're going to cut a section through this thing. Again, a lot of sections, guys, that a lot of the buildings you'll design will just be like rectangular cubes of space. And I find in those cases, it's often worth it just to reconstruct it in AutoCAD. Like, I think it's a good process to think about, well, what did I design here after all this labor and 3D work? If it's a pretty basic shape and, one side is 17 feet high, the other side is 10 feet high, you could just project these things in plane as a flat drawing and connect and really just construct the section itself. For a more organic object or a more complex one, it would be difficult to imagine and just construct using coordinates a section through something like this, right? So in Rhino and in 3D, it's often useful to actually slice precise sections. So this is the one I want to use. I'm going to come to my top viewport, and there are a few ways to do this. But the most basic way, I really think, is just to intersect a plane. So I'm just going to draw a polyline. There's something called a clipping plane. We'll do that next. Okay, in this method, we're just going to trim. We're going to split. Okay, so if I have a section looking this direction, these ticks mean it's looking that direction. Jeez. Okay, so that's my section line. Cut through there. I'm going to take this, put it in 3D. Looks like I'm getting the good stuff, which is what I want. All right. Make sure you cut a section in a useful space. Often in my studio, I'll sit with you and I'll see your section, and there's supposed to be like a built-in bench, but it won't be in the section, and that's a missed opportunity. Show these create the creativity of your section in the sections you choose to cut, and you choose to cut them where you want. So, like for something like this, I wouldn't want to cut it over here and miss the void through the center. It wouldn't be a very interesting section. So make sure you cut it in a location that is of interest and really shows off your design. So here I'm just going to do extrude curve. Choose to go in both directions. So you see, in a sense, I'm just constructing this section here, and I'm going to split. I'm going to select this and this, click enter, and I'm going to do that. Okay? Now I can take this, and I can just look into it. See this? It's nice. And I like doing things like this. It's hard, again, it's hard to imagine what that would look like in section. But here we can get it. And so to really do this right, I need two things. So one is I'm going to look at this again from the side. And I'm not going to do, maybe we should add the assignment a section and a section perspective. Why don't we try that? So we'll make a section first. And again, I like to, you have all this information, so do a make 2D. You can keep the hidden lines on if you want. Well, let's come to the top view. Let's scooch this over. Okay. It's still kind of hard to know, like, which of these lines are section lines, which are background lines, things like that. So what I want to do, so one is I can slice and then do a make 2D. The other is I can just intersect. So I'm going to take this and intersect, and you see there, I get these lines. Okay, so there's my cut plane. That's everything I'm slicing through. Everybody see how I did that? Any questions about that? I'm going to take these and make them like a different line weight. All right, I'm going to copy this. Oh, these extra little bits here are because I had two different volumes grouped. Let me explode them. So we don't need these. Sorry, guys. I messed that up a little. Let me just undo it and redo it again. Okay. So here, what I want to do is group these together. See, I have two groups. So it's also showing the intersection between the two groups. So I'm just going to take them, join them all together. So now it's one thing. All right. Now I'm going to intersect that plane with this group, right? So I'm going to type intersect. This is half of the split. Okay, and I should get one cut plane here. Bless you. How many of you got the flu shot? I'm the only one? Me and JP? You guys... All right. I recommend the flu shot. I also recommend you register to vote. Did you all register to vote? Is there still time to register to vote? No. All right. Just lie about it. Okay, here we go. All right, that's our cut plane. We should be able to rotate this 3D. All right, look at that. So what would make this section read clearer? What do you think? What's that? Sorry, who's raising their hand? Yes? Line weights. What else, Nicole? Yeah, we could get rid of the background lines, or what we need to do is distinguish, what's in the background and what's in the foreground. So, like JP said, if we make these, cyan is going to be a heavier line weight in AutoCAD, magenta. Another thing we can do is like hatch this. So if we hatch that and type hatch, and hatch this, and then I'm going to change the color to like gray or something. How do I change the color? Does anybody know how to change the color? I do. There we go. All right, I'm just going to do a light gray. Okay, and I'm going to join these, group these. Okay, and now when I combine this with this, right, for one thing, and what I would do is send this to the back. Do you know how to do drawing order? You know how in Photoshop you can right click on something and send it, bring it to the front or the back? In Rhino, there's not a good way to do that. I think it should show up anyway. Let's see if there's a draw order. Clear draw order. Well, then is there a draw order? No. Okay. Anyway, that more or less works, right? Reorder the layers. Let's make a layer called hatch. Put these on that layer. What in the world? I don't want to nest it in anything. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, in AutoCAD you can send that. But if you look at this, it's pretty clear, right? So this is background information. What is this? I think those are the same thing. I think we don't need these. Oh, those are hidden lines. Okay. So those are hidden lines. Okay, so that row in this hidden line, you could delete that. Anyway, so there's your section through it. And that's useful, you know, and kind of interesting to see the path through. And something like in our labyrinth project, you can see that you can't quite see through this thing, which is nice. So there's a kind of ambient bouncing around, a refraction that would occur. So the other way to do it would be to do a section perspective. So let's try that. And to do the section perspective, we would do the same thing, except that we would look at this thing from the side view. Set our view to the left. Let's set it to the front. There it is. All right, and again, here we'll change our viewport property to perspective. And we can make it 28, okay? And now just zoom back in. All right, so let's do it again. So dimension, make 2D drawing, show hidden line. Now let's go to our top viewport. Let's move this over. I like to group it immediately just so you don't lose any of the lines. It's weird to have two visible line layers for some reason. Okay, I believe, I'm going to check. No, it looks a little different. I believe this should fit. Okay, it does. So the section remains the same. Do you see that? The section still is the same in the front, but it's the view in the back that starts to show some perspective and some depth. Let's make the hidden lines. They should be, we'll go to properties and we'll make those dashed. Okay. And you could probably get rid of those. Anyway, so there's the section elevation, there's the section perspective. Do you understand the difference? Yeah? Are we good out there? Alright. So that is, there are a few ways of doing it. Another way of doing it, I rarely work with this. So forgive me if I stumble through it a little bit, but I see students doing this a lot. They use what are called clipping planes. And clipping planes let's try to figure it out. See this? It basically clips everything off. See, it's a plane with this line indicating a direction. It's useful for maybe finding the right place to cut a section. So instead of going through all that trouble, as you move it through here, you start to visualize your section. All right, so if I grab it, like that might be the place I want to cut, maybe here, maybe there. So it will help you visualize where to cut it. I don't think you can then duplicate the edges or anything, but a lot of times people will do that and then look at it in the side view, for instance. And then, you know, do a make 2D of it and use that as their section. So I don't find it that useful except to visualize things, and it's kind of fun to play around with. But I recommend, if you want to do that, to kind of find the best place to split and intersect and do things, then go for it. That's called clipping plane. So we've got these drawings here. So a section perspective, perspective elevation. Maybe we should do an elevation while we're at it, next to it. Yeah, why don't we just do one more perspective elevation? Okay, so we'll come back here, select it. If we right click on zoom selected, some of you, when I'm at your desks, for instance, you'll be doing things like this. You'll be on this thing, and when you rotate, it goes like way off the screen. You just need to recenter your camera. So select it, go to zoom selected, and then that'll be centered. So when you rotate, and when you zoom, it zooms in on the object you're focused on. So, and if you're looking at all 4 viewports, if you right click, it'll center it in all viewports. Alright, so let's look at this. Let's view this from the left viewport. I think it was the front, right? Yeah. Alright, so one more time. So we'll do a regular elevation. Viewport properties, parallel, so that's good. So again, dimension, make 2D drawing, show the hidden lines. Okay, so elevation, perspective elevation. You'll see that these scaled a little differently, so you could scale them together, make them uniform. And again, this is an elevation, so the object is 12 inches by 12 inches. So here it's 12 inches. Here it's 10.9. So we may just want to type scale, choose our first reference point, click here, and then click here. All right, so now that should be 12 inches on the outside. That's 12 inches. Let's select these lines. Again, these should all be, make them dashed. Okay, so perspective, perspective elevation, section, section perspective. What are the other drawings on the list? The unfolded laser cut drawing. I'm confident you all know how to do that, yeah? So just take the time to use Rotate 3D and unfold it. In interior, we know how to do the axonometric 3D views of your block. I'm sure you can all do that. The interior perspective. So this would be an interesting one to do. And I'm not sure how successful this is going to be. I put that in there because it's a skill I want you to learn. So let's see how it works out. So let's look at this thing in perspective. All right, so in Rhino, there's a way. So if you want to get in here, say this is like the atrium of a building, you know, and you want to have a view. one way to do this is to go like this. Say I want to frame a view. So I can move my camera there. I could render this view. Another way to do it is called camera and target method. So see, it says here camera and target. So again, I'm not exactly sure how successful this will be because it's kind of a strange space, but let's try it. So one thing you can do is you can actually tell Rhino where to put your camera, and you can tell it where to look. Okay, so you need to use a series of lines. So I'm going to draw a line here, and then maybe a line out to here. So I want to like stand at the end of this line, and then look up there. So I'm going to color code these just so it's clear. I'm going to make this cyan. Let's make it magenta. Okay, so these are going to be that's where I'm going to place the camera. And then my target, draw from here. I want to like look up into here somewhere. All right, see where that's looking? It's a little arbitrary. All right, and so just to show you how that works. So now I can hide, I can hide this to give you an idea, okay? So in this viewport, I go to viewport properties. See here it says camera and target. I'm going to place the camera and target. I can do them individually or at once. So I'll do place camera, new camera location here, new target location there. Okay. And if I unhide this thing, you see now I have a carefully constructed view. So that's useful if you're trying to construct an accurate perspective. Say you want to be inside your building, you want your eye height to be 5 feet above the ground, so you'll draw a line 5 feet high, you'll place your camera there, and then you'll tell it where to look. And so, we get something like that. Let's try to put it like inside of there. So let's stand right here actually. So maybe we'll stand right on this corner, and I'll draw a line straight up. So in the side view, click ortho, so I can draw straight up and down. And I can tell it, this is a 12-inch model, so I'll just go up 1 inch. So this line is up 1 inch. And maybe I want to look from there, up to here. Let's go to there. I don't have to draw these lines. I'm just drawing them to illustrate, what we're going to end up with. All right, so see, I'm going to stand there and I'm going to be looking up into here. Maybe I want to look up into here. Why don't we point this to the midpoint right there? Okay, so this is how you can kind of carefully construct your interior perspectives. All right, so let's do it again. So let's go to viewport property, place camera and target. New camera location, new target location. Okay, and then I can save this view. Right, I can go to set view, and then down to named views. And if I click the Save As button, I can type, 01. I like to number things, interior perspective. What happened? Somebody yawning? Which is nice. So look, if I toggle away, I can come back to perspective. I can go, to this regular perspective view. I can always go back and do set view, interior perspective, and it brings me back here. which is good. So then if I come out here, I can select the object, come here, and then I can do dimension make 2D drawing. All right, I'm just going to show you this because this is a little crazy. So when you do make 2D from inside, there are things all around the viewport that you're not seeing, and it projects them. So let's go see. Where is it? Oh, jeez. Oh, I think I did it from the wrong viewport. Let's try again. Where's the view? It's unusual. Oh, I wonder if... Did I delete that clipping plane? I'm not exactly sure why that isn't working. Take a pass at, just setting up the camera and target. I'll try to troubleshoot like why that isn't working. But another option you could do is you may want to try playing around with this render. Click that ball. It should render wherever the camera view is. And you see this is pretty dark because we don't have any lights inside. So we can add some light. I'll get into this in a future class. You can also take screenshots. So if you were to do rendered, all right. Sorry, that didn't work out so good. I'll troubleshoot that and try to figure out. But anyway, that is how you place the target. And it is challenging, usually when you're inside for some reason. Say we did this. Say we kind of looked at that view from here. Here we should be able to do a dimension make 2D. All right, you kind of see that. Again, it's a little messy. You really need to go in there and clean it up. And so make the hidden lines hidden so you can see that's the view to the inside. But using hatching, you can start to render these drawings and give them some depth. One more thing that maybe it would be useful for you to do would be to, like, how could we give this? It's still a little confusing to look at because there are so many lines. It's a nice drawing, and again, it's going to look better when it's black lines. But one thing you can do is come in here, and I would say, trace the elevation now that it's in perspective. And since these are all sloping faces, I'm going to show you this real quick. I'm tracing just to make this so that I have objects that I can hatch. Looks like we're missing one here. All right, so I'm going to turn off hidden lines. So we just have these. And I'm going to type hatch. Do you know how to do gradient hatch in Rhino? What is it? No gradient hatch. One thing you can do, guys, is just quickly hatch all these, since they're all like shifted in different directions. If we bring this into AutoCAD, maybe I'll show you this real quick. Let's export these views. And again, some of you are turning in screenshots of your work. We don't really want screenshots. We want you to, export these to AutoCAD. Let's export selected. Let's make it a DWG. Sorry, Nicole, I'll get to that question in 1 second.